In 2017, a nearly 7-meter-long python swallowed a woman whole in a remote village in Indonesia. When the snake's belly was cut open, the woman's body was found almost intact. Meanwhile, on online marketplaces in Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia, you can buy a rare python with just a few clicks and a couple of 100,000 rupees. Even a white albino python can cost more than 10,000 USD. These gigantic creatures can lay up to 100 eggs at once, and if released into the wild, they can kill crocodiles or cause an entire flock of rare birds to vanish. From horrifying true stories to secret and murky business deals, and even unbelievable biological mysteries, the world of pythons is not just dangerous, but so mysterious and fascinating that it's hard to look away. Shocking facts about pythons. In 2017, residents in a remote village on Sulawesi Island, Indonesia, were horrified when a 54-year-old woman suddenly went missing on her way home. After searching all night, villagers discovered a gigantic python about 7 meters 23 feet long with an unusually distended belly. When its stomach was cut open, the scene inside stunned everyone. The woman's body lay intact, wrapped in the cold coils of flesh. Meanwhile, on the other side of the globe, in the state of Florida, USA, a decades-long epidemic has been raging. The Burmese python, once kept as a pet, has now spread into the wild in the tens of thousands. They even prey on crocodiles. Dozens of rare bird species are under threat. They have been wiped out and are almost impossible to completely eradicate from the vast swamps of the Everglades. At the same time, in Thailand, Vietnam, and Indonesia, on black markets and online platforms, you can buy a rare python with just a few clicks. Even a glossy yellow-white albino python can be priced up to 10,000 USD per snake. These pythons are shipped home like regular parcels. Uncontrolled breeding, in defiance of international wildlife conservation laws, has led to many snakes escaping, threatening the ecosystem. Both the balance of nature and human lives are at risk. Even more terrifying, pythons have an incredible reproductive capacity. A female python can lay from 60 to 100 eggs per season, and by coiling its body and generating gentle vibrations, it keeps the eggs warm until they hatch. This means that with just a few pythons escaping into the wild, a new population can form and spread very quickly. But behind these frightening stories, humans continue to find ways to exploit the power and beauty of pythons for their own benefit, unraveling the mysteries of the python. From the Amazon rainforest to the African savannas and the jungles of Southeast Asia, pythons have existed for millions of years without much evolutionary change. They belong to a group of reptiles without a rigid skeleton. This doesn't mean they are weak. Instead, their strength lies in their massive muscle system and a flexible skeleton with over 400 fused vertebrae. Each muscle fiber is like a living steel cable, allowing the python to constrict its prey with a force so powerful it can challenge the prey's heart endurance. Pythons have the unique ability to sense temperature through tiny pits on both sides of their upper jaw. Even in the dark, they can detect the body heat of their prey, as if they possess an innate infrared camera. This capability turns them into silent assassins, able to lie in wait for hours, even days, without being detected or heard. The python's hunting method combines patience and physical strength. As soon as a target, be it a bird, rodent, or even a pig or deer, comes into range, the python suddenly accelerates. They strike and coil tightly around the prey. They don't break bones or suffocate. Instead, they constrict so tightly that they cut off blood circulation, rendering the prey unconscious in just a few seconds. They can then open their mouths up to 150 degrees, and with their flexible jaws and hundreds of backward-facing teeth, swallow the prey whole, even those many times larger than their head. In captivity, pythons can live for 20 to 30 years. The oldest python on record lived to be 47 years old in a U.S. zoo. This longevity provides long-term opportunities for their breeding. It is also a huge responsibility because once you adopt one, your relationship can last for decades. With this fascinating combination of primal power and incredible longevity, it's not hard to understand why python farming is becoming a booming economy in many places today. Python farming, opportunities, and risks. Python farming has become a lucrative business in many rural areas of Southeast Asia, particularly in Vietnam, Thailand, and Indonesia. An adult python weighing 40 to 60 kilograms if sold whole can fetch 8 to 15 million Vietnamese dong, equivalent to about $330, $620 USD. And if the meat, skin, and snake are sold separately, the price can be even higher. Python's skin, with its unique texture and high desirability in the fashion industry, is sold for 1 to 3 million VND per square meter. Meanwhile, python meat is used to prepare special dishes or traditional medicine. Baby pythons, especially rare species like the albino python, are sold on the international market for several thousand USD per snake. The conditions for raising pythons are not overly complex, but require patience. Sheds are typically 1.5 meter high concrete or metal cages with dry floors and protected from drafts. The python's main food is chicken, duck, rabbit, or mice, fed once or twice a week, depending on the snake's size. Some farmers even utilize waste from slaughterhouses to reduce costs. However, economic benefits come with significant risks. Every year, there are cases of pythons attacking handlers. The risk of snakes escaping increases, especially during storm seasons, when feeding or cleaning cages. Therefore, emergency python catching operations in residential areas are sometimes necessary. Furthermore, pythons are still wild animals and can carry diseases such as salmonella bacteria or intestinal parasites that can spread to humans. In many Asian countries, python farming operations remain largely informal. Many farmers do not have licenses and fail to comply with safety regulations, increasing the risk of pythons escaping into the natural environment. In some areas of the Mekong Delta in Vietnam, pythons are found in rice fields or fish ponds. There have been incidents of captured pythons causing damage to farmers and forcing local authorities to launch capture campaigns. So, where do these farmed pythons end up? The answer lies in the factories, where their muscular power and glossy skin are transformed into million-dollar commodities. Inside a python processing factory in Vietnam. A specialized factory operates almost secretly, covering an area of over 2,000 square meters. From the outside, it looks like just a row of old, corrugated, iron-roofed houses. But inside, dozens of workers process hundreds of pythons every day. They are very busy. This is where the man-saw pythons, which slithered through the farmers' cages, reach the final stage of their journey. The process begins with slaughter to turn them into million-dollar commercial products. The pythons are tied with ropes, then stunned or electrocuted, and then bled out. Workers use sharp knives to separate the skin from the meat and fat. Their speed and precision are such that it takes less than 10 minutes to completely skin a 50-kilogram python. The python's skin is then cleaned, preserved with chemicals, and stretched on wooden frames for sun drying or oven drying. Intact, unscratched hides are carefully packaged and transported to Europe, where fashion companies pay up to $200, $300 USD per square meter for high-quality hides. Python meat is sorted into different categories. A portion is used for special culinary preparation, and the rest is used as food for predators in tiger or crocodile breeding centers. The echoes of the furnace, the scent of chemicals, and the faint smell of blood blend to create a thick, heavy atmosphere. To outsiders, the scene might be frightening, but to the workers, it is just a normal day's work. They know that every piece of skin, every kilogram of meat, brings a stable income to their entire family. But pythons don't just slither into the real world. They also infiltrate novels and popular culture, where the image of this giant reptile carries a meaning that transcends their commercial value. Pythons in culture, cinema, and legends. From the dense rainforests of the Amazon to the villages of Southeast Asia, the python is a familiar image. The giant snake is not just a creature, it is a recurring figure in the human imagination. They are often depicted on Hollywood screens as extremely large and dangerous predators. The film Anaconda, 1997, caused a worldwide sensation by depicting a python over 12 meters, 40 feet long, swallowing a man in seconds. Nearly a decade later, Snakes on a Plane, 2006, further amplified this fear when hundreds of snakes, including pythons, terrorized a transatlantic flight. But the image of the python is not limited to film. In Vietnamese folklore, pythons are sometimes depicted as a threat. They appear as guardians of the deep forest, as a challenge to the hero, or as a symbol of the primal power of nature. Some communities in Thailand and Laos consider the white albino python an omen of good fortune and nurture and worship them in temples. In many parts of the world, pythons carry dual symbolic meanings. On one hand, they can represent power and danger, and on the other, they can also be a symbol of protection and good luck. It all depends on how humans perceive them. This diversity of meaning makes pythons a treasury of human stories and images. It makes them an irreplaceable force in the ecosystem. But as the line between conservation and exploitation becomes thin, what will the future of these python species be? The future of pythons and their impact on humans. The 21st century has brought pythons to a crossroads where the path ahead is still murky. Some giant species, such as the African rock python or the Burmese python, are still flourishing in their natural habitats. But many other species are on the brink of extinction. Continuous habitat loss, rampant poaching, and climate change have severely reduced python populations in many areas over the past few decades. Surveys in Indonesia from 2000 to 2020 show that the wild python population on some islands has decreased by 40%. To address this threat, many nations have initiated legal breeding programs, including the allowance of controlled python farming. However, balancing conservation and commerce is not easy. Some companies in Thailand and Vietnam have successfully bred rare white albino pythons, meeting market demand and reducing the need for poaching from the wild. Another challenge in conservation lies in controlling invasive python species. This issue is evident in the state of Florida, USA, where the Burmese python, once captive bred and then released or escaped, has now reached a population in the thousands and is causing severe damage to the local ecosystem. Despite large-scale hunting campaigns and generous reward programs, complete control remains elusive. And then there is the ethical question that always lingers. Should humans farm pythons for meat, skin, or as pets? Should they continue to be domesticated, or should they be comprehensively protected like all other wild animals? The answer may determine not only the future of the python species, but also how humanity treats nature in the future.